At the end of the day, what are we showing people with plant medicine? They're returning to what? They're returning to themselves. We're returning home. The longest journey we ever take is from our head to our heart. So we return home to trusting ourselves again, to listening to ourselves, to honoring our truth, to honoring what our boundaries are, to honoring what we want, living in the moment now where every cell is alive and present.
Welcome, Tribe. I'm Maya Rose.
And I'm Gerald Rogers. We're about to embark on another mind-expanding episode where we dive deep into the realms of psychedelics, sex, and the superconscious.
This is a transformational experience of healing, manifestation, increased clarity, flow, and alignment.
So join us on this sacred journey as we receive the codes of transformation from scientists and psychonauts, shamans, tantra masters, mystics, and more.
Together, we'll unravel the secrets of plant medicine, sex magic, and other tools to tap into higher states of consciousness.
So why are we here? To answer the call, to share our passions, and be advocates for alternative healing.
So get ready for a ride that transcends the ordinary and leads you to the extraordinary, because living a legendary life is not just a choice.
It's a sacred adventure. All right, my dear soul family, I'm so excited to introduce you to William David Naylor. And this soul brother of mine, we go way back, but what's beautiful is I feel like I'm also just getting to know him for the first time. And it's really beautiful to have these friends in your life that you have that long history with, but then you get to meet in these new iterations of ourselves and to like see how our paths weave in and out of each other's lives. I first met David way back when I was in Orlando and I was building a real estate business and I was just fighting to get rich. And I thought that was all that was important, and that was the key to happiness. And then lost it all. Like William lost all, all for him. And then we just went through these cycles of like these, this growth journey, very separate, but very similar. And then our paths realigned just recently with Burning Man being kind of an entry point. And then William's work right now is he owns and runs this amazing ketamine clinic down in Austin. And he hosted me and my goddess there. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the ketamine clinic, the work that you're doing it within. And I also want to talk about your own personal journey and why it's important. But I would love to just give you a moment just to kind of introduce yourself to the beautiful souls that are listening right now. What would you like to share with them about who William is and what you're all about?
Wow. First of all, thank you for that introduction. And yeah, just you articulated it so beautifully. Like we met each other at 20. I was 25 years old on stage, running around, selling programs, selling courses, seeing how much I could make every month, 30, 40, 50 grand, just thinking that this is what was happiness, what was going to make me happy. And yeah, to see our journeys go very parallel, you just feel like this very dear soul brother to be able to go through these versions of expansion and awakening and evolution together, very separate back in, you're in Utah and I'm over here in Florida and Austin, Texas, but it's been such a beautiful, parallel journey to watch you evolve and to have that be affirming for me and be like, man, I knew him when I was in that same version, and to watch all that evolution. But yeah, what an honor to be here. I would say what do I want people to know, or, I think it's who I am. I am that I am. As Paul Selig would say, I am that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am. I am this moment. I've spent so long and so many stories and narratives of what I thought I should be and what I need to be and what I want to be. And really what I am is this moment. I am alive. I am in this fucking moment, pardon my language. In this moment, I need to bleep that out. But in this moment, I am here. I am love. I am present. I am joy. I am happy. I'm really genuinely happy. Yeah, I'm happy to be with my friend Gerald. So who am I? I am existence.
Love that. I love that you even have I am in your name,
Thank you. Will I am. Yeah.
And you can definitely say fuck. We are a very fuck friendly,
All right.
tribe here. We're all about authenticity. And it's funny, like I actually really believe fuck is such a powerful and potent and magical word. It has a lot of potency in the world. We don't need to talk about that right now, um but it's important. Like language is important. Even like names are important. Like I know that you've been through this transition from, I always knew you as David. Now you're William. And I want you to kind of like share for the audience in that transition of identity, because I feel like one of the greatest gifts of plant medicine work is it helps us upgrade and shift our identity. It helps us let go of parts of us that no longer serve. It helps us upgrade how we see and perceive ourselves. I would love for you to share in your journey the role that plant medicine has had in upgrading your identity and how that's reflected in you identifying yourself with your birth name of William.
Yeah, it's a big question, right? Because I didn't start my plant medicine journey until I was 39, and I spent 20 years in sobriety. I went to rehab when I was 17, bounced back pretty strong, where most of my friends were, you know, um, deeply involved in drugs, and many overdosed, some committed suicide. I was lucky to make it out of my hometown, and then find landmark education pretty early, and Tony Robbins and T. Harv Eker and a guy named Gerald Rogers doing Live Big and Limitless. And I started finding all this incredible work out there. But I was sober at the same time in terms of alcohol and substance. And so coming in to do plant medicine at 39 was a really big deal for me. In fact, I even made a career out of owning treatment centers and rehabilitation centers and aftercare programs and intensive outpatient programs. And so, that was most of my 30s, owning those businesses, being in that field. So coming to plant medicine was a really interesting experience, because when I was presented with when the first woman I met, who was a shaman, said, "Would you like to sit in ceremony with plant medicine?" I was like, "Whoa!" That was a new language for me. I thought, "What, shrooms?" I tried those in high school, like LSD. Did it in high school. Like it was such a foreign thing. But she said, "No, we don't use the word drugs. This is a sacrament. This is a medicine. Yes, psilocybin is one of the medicines," and it was a new language. And so everything in my mind was telling me, whoa, relapse, go back to the past. You're gonna fuck your life up again. Holy shit, what will your sponsor think? What are people in the industry gonna think? Like, we don't do this stuff. And so for me, I remember everything in my body was telling me to sit with this sacred medicine in a blindfold setting with prayer and intention. But my mind was saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. But I followed my body. I followed my soul. The body is intelligent. It speaks if we listen. It's always speaking. It's such an intelligent vessel. But I didn't know that at the time, right? So when I sat with my first medicine journey, it was a 3-hour long journey. In the first hour, I cried.
Medicine were you using?
It was psilocybin.
Wow.
And it was January 21st, 2020. And I still remember, it was a Tuesday. It was cold out. There was a fire. She laid out the medicine in a shell and said, "Here's your medicine. Say an intention, a prayer. Here's your blindfold." And I'm like, whoa, okay, let's do this. We're doing it. And I was feeling all the feelings, all the butterflies, all the things, but I felt safe. I felt like it was a really healthy container and setting. It was warm. It was inviting. It was loving. This woman was my first. Her name is Bella. To this day, she is the one that opened up the portal for me. And then the first hour was just weeping. My body wept. My whole shirt was soaking. The second hour, I laughed like a hyena. My body was purging laughter. I don't even know what I was laughing at, but it was just, the nervous system knows what it needs to do to heal the trauma, to heal the programming, not just trauma, but programming. And then the third hour was just, I was one with everything. I was everything. And it was one of the most profound experiences of my life. And so after that, really began a whole new journey of, like you said, evolving, expanding, awakening, remembering who I am. And then that automatically changes your identity because you start to remember and, awaken the DNA cellular memory and awaken the pineal gland, awaken the chakra system, awaken the kundalini. It's an ever expansive because we're infinite energy. We're no longer confined in this. My name is David. I'm a Republican. I vote this way. I am selfish. I am that. Like we start to like just rip all of that. In Judaism, it's called klipot. We rip off the klipot, which is the shell. And that's why you're not even allowed to study Kabbalah until you're 40 years old, because I think that's the time when the shell can just remove and we become, I am infinite. I am sovereign. I am God experiencing itself. We can probably stop there, but it's transforming as we know.
We'll start there. Just at everything, it's just everything. It was. I actually want to talk about the experience of my experience at the Within Center at Ketamine, and curious to hear more of your experiences in creating space for that. But for me, I had only had one ketamine experience before coming there, and it was, I don't want to say traumatic, but it was not fun. It was like really messy. Like we were in the middle of another heart ceremony. I was like feeling so juicy and good, and then my friend says, "Hey, you want to bump some ketamine or whatever?" And he gave us some, and all of a sudden, I lost any access to control my body. Everything felt like plastic. It was super disorienting. I was in this weird, place where like for 3 or 4 hours I couldn't move, and I was everything was in like super slow motion. I just felt like really disconnected from my heart and from my body. That was my first experience, and so I'm like, I don't actually know if that's my medicine. I don't. But simultaneously, I had heard from a lot of other people how like profound ketamine is, and I know people that do it like little hits for fun when they're at Burning Man, and then I would see other people that would actually build it into like ceremonial purposes, and people using it for like really transformational healing work. And so I was like, okay, I'm curious. Like I actually want to give it another chance. And so when we came into the Within Center, you guys have done such an amazing job of making it not feel like a clinic. It feels like this warm and inviting home, and everything's like the fireplaces and the nice blankets and comfy mattresses, and even the way that you approach it, where all of your practitioners, I don't know if that's what you call them, but they're like they like speak the language of shamanism. They speak the language of spirituality. You don't feel like you're in a medical clinic, and like it's just warm, and it feels like home and safe, and to be able to come and be greeted by you and your team, and the whole process beforehand, afterhand, just making sure that everything was done in such an intentional and professional way. And then when my beautiful bride and I, we got to like do the journey next to each other. It was for me, it was like such a beautiful experience of feeling like this medicine disconnect me from the entanglements of my mind, of all the challenges that I've created for myself, right? And that disassociation, I think, is one of the gifts of ketamine, where it just like gets me to experience my cosmic self, and my like this like very cosmic, universal, metaphysical like realm of infinite possibility. And it was interesting because I had enough thread of mind that I could like follow these thoughts and explore. It's like, okay, what are these money things that are coming up for me? Like, what is this money thing? And I could be like very objective and kind of like see the game of money, right? I could see these other things I was creating and doing and feeling like these little pushes and pulls of my egos. And I just had a chance to like really explore. It's like, why would I think that? That doesn't really, like, it was like really interesting in that space. And like right before I came in, I had a conversation with Aubrey Marcus, who's obviously a very super well-known influencer, and he had expressed an interest in being part of our Burning Man camp. And I noticed like this sense of this interesting, exploration of like this, idea of popularity and fame and all of these different things, and like transcending all of that. I could feel my frequency greeting in the space Aubrey Marcus and saying, welcome, welcome to our camp. And it was like almost energetically being able to like feel us as our individual God selves meeting, rather than the egoic versions of us where, there might be separation. And so it was really profound. And I remember coming back and just slowly coming back into my body, and the practitioner was like massaging my head and just kind of helping me like tune back into like the joy of being alive and being in this body. And then Maya Rose asked me a question. I think she said, "How was your journey?" I didn't actually register she asked anything, but I felt this word begin to like take shape, and language was such an interesting thing, but I could feel this like word begin to take shape in my soul. And I could feel this word coming through me. It's like triumphant. Triumphant. And I could just feel like the frequency of a word that I hardly ever use, but I was like triumph. I could feel my soul just celebrating this magnificent journey of life, and like everything that that journey reminded me of. And it was really, really helpful and really beautiful. And I have no idea what a typical journey is like, but I would love for your perspective to kind of share why you chose to like have ketamine as like one of the vehicles that you help facilitate transformation with, and what you see in people's lives as a result of it.
Man, thank you. It's a great question. I mean, so it's beautiful, that word. I haven't said that word triumphant. I don't know if I've ever even said that word. Wow. It's been a long time. What a beautiful word to come through. And, that journey after, my psilocybin journey, it took me on a journey of experiencing many different types of plant medicine ceremonies, from going to sit with like MDMA therapists, to sitting with shamans around the country, then going to Peru and going into the Sacred Valley and sitting with ayahuasca, and then finding your typical ayahuasca ceremonies around the country. So I really dove in head first and started to then kind of share my journey online with my friends and my family. And eventually I sold those treatment centers because they just didn't understand at the time. They were not really welcoming of plant medicine therapies 4 years ago. So ended up exiting those industries and just kind of a clean break. And fortunately did very, very well for myself from a business standpoint. But finally I had this time to just focus on my own awakening process and remembering process and healing evolution process. And so having sat with almost all the medicines, I haven't sat with Iboga, which is something I'm looking forward to doing actually after now researching it and learning a lot more about it. Ketamine was actually the last medicine I sat with. I was like, oh, I'm a plant medicine guy. So that's what I would tell people. Like, yeah, I like to really more focus on the plants. But when I was invited into a ketamine clinic to sit with ketamine, it was an IV drip. So we do the IM, the intramuscular injection at within. And I'll tell you why we chose that way. But when I went into this ketamine clinic, it was a drip. And there were like, neon lights, kind of felt like an office. I was in a comfortable chair. There was a TV in front of me. And there was somebody there next to me. She was an EMT, but she was, you could tell she was there, to work. And that's really it. She even said, right before going into the journey, she's like, yeah, I don't sit with ketamine, but I believe in its effects, but it's not for me. And I'm like, oh, okay, shoot, why not? So I sink into my chair, I merge into consciousness, and I start to visit all the people in my life who had died. And that was my first ketamine experience. And they showed up like little orbs, again, with ketamine, it's a really powerful, disassociative. So like, you're, like you said, the functions are kind of gone. You're just like merged into consciousness. And it really slows down that default mode network in the brain, softens the neuroplasticity. So new neural pathways can start to open up. That's the beauty of ketamine. While it doesn't have, like with plant medicine, and like you can feel the plants, you can feel them talk to you, you can feel the spirit of it, you can feel the soul of the plants and the mushrooms. With ketamine, what my experience is that you actually have your experiences like you're with your own soul. So there's not really a medicine. Some people come to me, yeah, ketamine has no soul to it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It connects you with your soul. So for me, it connected me with my soul without all the other plant medicine souls from the jungles or from the plants. And I was able to just really go through all the people who had died, including my father, including my best friend, Brian Willis, who died at 17, and all my friends in recovery who I lost through owning recovery businesses. And I was able to have completion conversations with each one of them.
Wow.
And that was really powerful, man. I mean, that's like 10 years of therapy in one session. And so that was my first ketamine experience. But then I remember like hearing hospital noises and like the beeping monitor, and like I ripped the cord out of my arm and blood started coming out because I was in an IV. And so while it was a really powerful ceremony, it was not the best setting. And so the reason why we opened up within was because, again, I'm not a guy I'm not someone who'll do, I'll never even say the DRUGS word. It's just not, I have such a bad connotation to it from being a kid. Everything is sacred in this world. I wouldn't just do medicine just to do medicine, right? For me, there's a sacred purpose to it. There's a sacred intention. So when we opened up within, we wanted to bring the ceremonial reverence, indigenous. We wanted to build a culture around that, the setting around that. We didn't want it to feel like a hospital or a medical clinic, even though it is. We wanted it to feel more like you were in a portal in a shamanic experience. So that's why we created it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And what are some of the stories that you're most proud of, like some of the testimonials that have come through or some of the experience that you've seen? What are some that stand out for you?
Oh my gosh. One just recently, the amazing Adam Roa, poet, beautiful human, just recently, he shared it on his IG a few different times. So I can share this. But he just came and just shared what a transformative experience he had, and how it opened up new pathways for his new book and new material and new channeling, that it gave him that type of vision and direction and understanding of what his new book's going to be. And so that was really just the most recent one. But I mean, there's so many different stories that I could share. We had a couple come in. They actually also shared their story as a video on our website. Tony and Leslie, they came in as a married couple, almost 30 years. Their kids were out of the house now, 3 kids, and they're, really beautiful couple. And they were going through a hard time in their marriage. And they were Tony was probably 80 pounds heavier, and they were on the verge of a divorce. And again, you can watch their story on our website, but they sat and went through our program, and we got to experience them renewing their vows like 6 months later. And Tony lost 80 pounds, hasn't had a drop of alcohol since. Their marriage, they just were at the Imagine Or gathering with us in Nebraska. And they came on to actually donate and fund to Within and our mission. And now they sit on our board. I mean, I've never seen a transformation like theirs. But actually we do see transformations like that, but theirs was quite special just because of, then they started going out to Kelly's with us in Pasadena. They started to, go on to different ceremonies with us. And so, yeah, it's been really beautiful to watch people really awakening to the next version of themselves. That's what's really cool. Like, people actually go into the next version of who they are, and it's a process, but I feel like Within is a small place in the everyday life where sometimes people just find us through Google. Some people find us through referrals, but when they come into within, it's like the beginning of creating the next version of themselves.
Wow. What a sacred thing. Like, what a gift. And I feel like that's what always drew me to do transformational events and retreats and seminars, is just to like be kind of like the front lines of witnessing people's just heroic transformations and what it takes for them to let go of their old identities and step into new ones. Like, it's so awe-inspiring. And over the last several years, as we've integrated like plant medicine more intentionally into our retreats and seminars, it's so profound just to see the acceleration. Just like you said, like sometimes one session is equivalent to like 10 years of traditional therapy, and then activating like these spiritual gifts, and then like releasing old trauma, and like just it's really interesting. And even still, like every time I sit, like I'm always amazed at like what healing comes through for me. We have our alliance, which is our mastermind for people that are in the psychedelic space, people that are either hold a retreat center, have retreat centers, or they're stewards of sacred land, or they're facilitators, or people that are just passionate about investing into the future of that. And so we just returned from a gathering that we had in Mount Shasta. And during the ceremony that we held there, one of the people that was there helped me get to the core root issue of some of these financial situations I have that kind of led me to like really like massive problems with the IRS right now. And I couldn't actually see like why I had created that, me and infinite capacity of my soul, why I had chosen to create this like really battled warfare with the IRS. And he sat with me to the point where I think with the medicine and with the support of these powerful healers, I was able to like see and heal things that happened in my life over 15 years ago, actually almost 20 years ago, when I first started my real estate career. And then when the market crashed, like the impact and trauma of that and how that affected my money psychology, I hadn't been able to touch that with all of the hypnosis, all the transformational work that I've done, everything else. Like if it wasn't for sitting with sacred medicine in a certain setting that allowed me to like listen and get curious,
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like turns off that, again, the default mode mechanism, default mode network, in our brain, that it's like the jailer that guards the jail cell to our subconscious. That's what the default mode network is. It's alert right now. It's constantly alert. It's going. That little voice, especially when you do 5-MeO, it's that last thing to go. It's like that little voice. That's the default mode network. It's constantly on. And the moment we can sit in plant medicine, and that's why another thing with like learning meditation, really mastering meditation, but still turning that default mode network off, which plant medicine helps with, it then has direct access into our subconscious, into our Akashic, into DNA remembrance, into the infinite field, the field of consciousness. And then downloads come, clarity comes. We can like plug in to the infinite source river stream of consciousness. And that's when so much powerful healing in the nervous system, as well as downloads, as well as uploads, as well as information that we have access to.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So for you, when people are exploring the possibility of which medicine to use and when to do it, and like where's the right place, like what are some of the most important like criteria you would offer to someone that wants to know, is ketamine right for me? Or should I sit with psilocybin or ayahuasca? Or where should I sit? Like, how do you help someone find the authentic, like right path that is really meant for them? Because I think you and I both agree that someone doing the wrong medicine in the wrong place, wrong setting can actually be really detrimental to, their experience. So like how do you help someone make a decision of what's right for them?
Man, that's a great question. I get that all the time also. So it's a really good question. I mean, first and foremost, people are sovereign. They are God experiencing themselves. They are the universe experiencing itself. So for me, I treat every human as if,
Yeah.
which they are, you already have the answers within you because you are creating your own experience. And so if somebody creates an experience that traumatizes them, it's because actually that was meant to happen so that they could go in and heal that trauma, and then it surfaces, and then they get to go on that journey. So for me, we are on a true, beautiful, eternal, ancient intelligence time clock. And so I've re-triggered my trauma many times so that I could finally deal with it. So that's the first answer to your question. The second is, really, I will share with them my experience of the different medicines from ayahuasca to wachuma to peyote to ketamine therapy to LSD, MDMA therapy, plus the protocol of group therapy, being in part of a ceremony group and different types of medicines. So I will share my experience, and then I'll just ask them, like, put your hands on your heart, close your eyes, and just feel into, like, take a breath. What's feeling? What's your intuition, right? Was at the end of the day, what are we showing people with plant medicine? They're returning to what? They're returning to themselves. We're returning home. The longest journey we ever take is from our head to our heart. So we return home to trusting ourselves again, to listening to ourselves, to honoring ourselves, to honoring our truth, to honoring what our boundaries are, to honoring what we want, living in the moment now where every cell is alive in the present. So I just bring them back to that. And I say, what do you feel safe and what do you feel called for? Because there's there's different costs. There's sometimes travel if they want to go into the jungle. Like I've had people sit and tell me, like, I feel like I need to go to the jungle. And I'm like, cool, let's get you to the jungle, literally. And we help find them a place. Some people will say, I really want like a medical person there to hold my hand. I just want to have like a guided experience. I can't leave work for 4 days, 3 days right now. I'm like, okay, great. Come into the Within Clinic. I'm like, let's just get you a ceremony set up with a heart monitor there and someone holding your hand and medical. So it's really just listening to who and what their intuition is sharing and helping them like hold space so they can then listen to themselves.
Right. Wow, what a powerful life skill. And just that ability to listen to yourself and trust your intuition as you're navigating that. I think that's really beautiful. We just have a couple minutes left right now. And I would love for you to just share like what's alive for you as you look towards next 6 to 12 months to a couple, I don't know, like what's on the horizon that you're excited about and that you're like really feeling is calling you forward.
Man, you were asking such good questions, man. You're good at this. Yeah, man, for me, I'm noticing just a fear in my stomach as I share this. Cause it probably is where it lives. This fear has been for a long time, which is probably why I have used food or sugar to, numb that fear or feed that fear. But for me, it's stepping into the fullness of my mission, stepping into the version of me that's on mission, that is sitting with every human that comes into my field. I'm all in with not trying to force it, not trying to create Google ads or marketing angles or fishing poles out in the water to go build something. I'm living in love. And as a channel, because I am a channel, we all are. And any soul that shows up in my field in that moment, which was my child or my wife or somebody who calls me and says, hey, I heard about you and I'd like to sit, that person is full on I'm in with to support and love for their awakening process. And that's a version I have yet to achieve and yet to merge into yet. And that is what's in form right now.
That's beautiful. Well, sending you so much love on that journey, which is, It's the most important journey, like, and it's a journey that William is fully capable of doing. And I love that you're stepping into just like embracing the full power of your potential in this realm, and the purpose that happens when you surrender the fears and you dive straight into the center of what's alive for you there. So excited for you. I would love for you to just share real quick for those of our listeners that are, curious or interested about experiencing the magic that you've created at the clinic, the ketamine clinic within in Austin. If anyone wants to know wants to get more information, or if they're curious to know what the next steps are, can you give them some instructions?
Yes, first and foremost, I'll just give you my cell number, 512-810-6517. Just text me, call me. I'm all in. Support you in whatever you want to, whatever is feeling called, and whatever you're feeling called into this next version of you. I will support you in that. And then the second is within.center. It's really simple. Within.center. You can go online and you can just call that number or email there as well.
That's so generous of you for you to just be there as a resource. Once again, it's sometimes disorienting and sometimes intimidating, and for all of us, like even if we like know that we're going to have a positive experience, like the journey of self-discovery and journey of awakening, journey of remembering requires us to surrender all of these old parts of us. So even for anyone, it's a terrifying journey because we have to let parts of us die, and everything in our ego wants to resist that, even if it's what is best for us. So thank you. Thank you so much, William. It's an honor to have you here. And thank you to all of our listeners. We love you so much. We love this beautiful soul family that's gathering and supporting this work, and continue to listen. We have some really exciting interviews coming up soon on psychedelic sex and the superconscious. And until then, just remember, this is your life. Make it legendary.
Thank you, legendary explorers, for joining us on this cosmic journey today.
Your curiosity fuels our exploration of psychedelics, sex, and the superconscious.
If you're hungry for more, dive into our website and connect with us on social media. All the links are in the show notes.
And stay tuned for our next mind-expanding episode. We can't wait to talk to you again in our next adventure.
Until then, remember, this is your life. So,
make it legendary.